How you doing?
Doing good, man.
Good.
Yeah.
I want to kind of start this off by getting a little insight into how are you feeling lately? What is making you feel the most amount of joy and like contentment right now in your life?
That's a good question, dude.
Thanks.
Uh, Surprisingly, it's kind of making my apartment more cozy, believe
Mm,
it or not. So, I've lived in multiple places. I had a house with my ex-wife and, I lived at my parents for a while and I did all these things. But for the first time, I'm actually in an apartment on my own. And it hit me like a month ago that it looks like a teenage boy's apartment.
yeah. Do you have
And
posters? That teenage?
not even, man. The walls are blank.
Yeah.
So essentially, in my mind, I'm like, all right, I need a place close to work. I want a short commute and I need a place where I can eat my meals and get good sleep. And that's it.
Mm,
And I made that happen. And then some time passed and I'm like, well, shit.
yeah.
Now my whole life is work. It's like I've created this home that allows me to recharge my battery, but there's no life here. I'm
Right.
just going right back to work. And it wasn't a relaxing environment. It wasn't a place that I enjoyed.
Mm,
So for the first time in my life, I'm like, holy shit, I'm 32 and I don't even know what I like in my surroundings. I don't know. I have to pick furniture. How do I pick furniture?
yeah.
So for the last month, I've been spending a lot of time just making my apartment feel like home. And
Mm,
it's been bringing me a lot of joy outside of work, which has been, a common theme in my life to figure out who am I outside of work and how do
amazing.
I enjoy that time without feeling like I'm not being productive.
Right. Do you feel like you've kind of struggled with over focusing on work and maybe not prioritizing other aspects in your life? Has that been like a common theme throughout your life and you're starting to maybe rebalance it now?
Yes. It's hard to admit that that's a problem because my work is also,
It's like a big sense of joy. It's like who you are.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
my hobby, it's my passion. The problem is when my fulfillment comes from the wins that are happening at work and the validation I get from work, then I go on a vacation and 3 days into the vacation, I've got none of that,
Mm,
fulfillment anymore. So it does lead to problems when my work is my only sense of validation,
right.
gratification, fulfillment. So I would say I've been on a mission the last probably 2 years now where I've made it a true focus to find out who am I without
Mm,
work and
mm,
what makes me happy without, you know, producing and working towards goals, whether it be financial or whatever other success metric there is.
mm. What are some things that you've started to notice about yourself that maybe you didn't realize were a part of maybe your human attributes?
I need alone time.
Mm,
Like I need time away from contact with other people, which is tough to juggle when I get so much fulfillment from engaging with others. I love serving others. I love learning about others. I love being in the presence of others and having conversations like this. It brings me great joy, but it doesn't fill my battery.
mm,
My battery gets recharged when I'm alone. But at the same time, when I'm alone, that's when that internal dialogue
right.
comes up of you can't relax. You haven't
Mm,
accomplished XYZ yet. So I'm in this consistent internal battle of I know I need alone time where I'm doing nothing. That's what fills my battery. But it's just so easy for me to fill all of that time
right.
with other things.
Mm. Why do you feel that you have that sense that you need to keep doing it? Is it a sort of social pressure, do you feel, or is it something internal where you just feel like you can't necessarily relax until you accomplish a thing that, in essence, for me especially, because I feel very similar, it's a moving goalpost. So you're never going to accomplish a thing and then be done. It's always moving. And I feel like I've had to kind of realize that acceptance for me is accepting that I need to slow down sometimes in order to make me feel productive in other areas, especially if I'm lacking or if I'm not feeling productive or if I'm maybe just feeling mentally drained. Instead of pushing through sometimes where I know I could, actually taking a reset might be beneficial in the long term.
Yeah, so I'm learning that myself and I'm getting a more delicate awareness of when that's approaching.
Mm,
In the past, I would just juggernaut through until I got sick, and my immune system would literally hit a wall until I was on my ass for 2 weeks,
right.
and it would be a forced rest. So I'm proud of myself for the progress I've made of recognizing, hey, it's time to pull back a little bit and maybe, take a night off of work
Right.
and go and just chill and do nothing.
Mm.
So I'm getting better in that department. Where does it come from? I mean, probably dinner table conversation as a kid.
Yeah.
My dad and brother were my role models. They were the hardest workers I know. That's what we admired as men in the family was, you get the job done. You wake up, you work your ass off, you outwork everybody else, you provide for the family, and you sleep soundly at night knowing you didn't leave anything on the table.
Mm.
Now, that was the message that formed my drive and my understanding of what it means to be a man as a child.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it fully serve me? I would say not anymore. It comes at a cost. So I'm working on harnessing the good of that because I have the capacity to put my head down and get a lot of shit done.
Yeah,
which
definitely
is critical. It's necessary to succeed. And I love it. I love that I can do that and the effect it has on others, especially here at Varno Fitness. My ability to do that provides so much good for so many. But how can I harness that and still have self-preservation at the same time?
I think there's so many things I want to go to, but I think something that you said is really important. And I think it's recognizing certain attributes about yourself that you could improve on. And I think as a business owner or somebody that is leading people, being vulnerable within yourself to recognize that you could improve yourself, I think creates an environment in a community where people can feel accepted and that they can grow because they're looking at a leader that also is recognizing that within themselves.
Critical.
Yeah.
Especially when you take somebody who doesn't believe in themselves and you introduce them to a deadlift. You give me a woman in her mid 40s who has never really been fit, but finally she's willing to take the intimidating leap to walk into a place that's full of people who've been doing it for a long time and take the risk of, can I do this without looking like a fool and embarrassing myself? And on day one, my job is to be this goofy animated character where hey, it's okay to be silly. We don't have it figured out. And that's why we're all here. It's cool. And if you can break down that wall to help guide somebody and recognize look, we don't need to be perfect here. And we're all on some sort of a path to learn something new. And part of that process is, really struggling in the beginning. If you can lead and set that example, then it gives people the opportunity to, borrow that courage for a period of time until they see it in themselves.
Amazing. I'm gonna dive into that a little bit, but I just want to get a little background. So tell me about your journey into fitness. Has it been a sort of part of your life since you were younger? How did you get introduced to it?
There were a couple monumental moments. I wasn't a very confident child. I had a wonderful family. We were full of laughs and a lot of smiles, and I had a great upbringing. I'm so blessed to have what I did, but there was always something that made me feel not good enough, not welcomed. I struggled to socialize in school, and I never really felt a sense of belonging or direction. I didn't have much of a drive. I was just going through the motions. My mom had to drag me to school every day. And then sophomore year in gym class, the track coach saw me and was like, "Hey, why aren't you on the basketball team?" I looked at him because I suck. I keep getting cut. I can't make it. And then he welcomed me to the track team. And that was the first time a coach saw potential in me that I didn't see in myself. And I followed his lead and I showed up and I worked hard and there was positive reinforcement and I was getting better. And then about a year later, I had a health teacher who told me to read the nutrition label on the back of a Gatorade bottle I was holding. I'm like, wait a second. There's something in this besides yellow liquid. There's information here. I can actually learn about, at the time, my entire diet was Pop-Tarts, sugar, and peanut butter and jelly. There was no concept of, oh, this isn't just to make that sensation in my stomach go away and make me comfortable. And then the third element, I fractured my growth plate in my hip, high jumping, that same, period of time. And I went to physical therapy for it. And I saw this guy with this great attitude. He was wearing gym clothes and he was hanging out in a gym and he was helping people get better and he was just happy. And between those three elements, I'm like, okay, somebody saw potential in me. Yeah. I followed it. I'm seeing myself get better. I'm valuable on this team. I'm scoring points for the team. I feel a sense of self-worth and belonging and welcoming. I'm important over here. And then I see somebody teach me about nutrition, and I had always felt shitty. My sleep was terrible. I was always getting sick. My body felt terrible. And once I started changing the way I was eating, I felt like superhuman. I'm like, holy shit, I could upgrade.
Yeah.
I could upgrade my body and my life by changing the way that I'm eating and pursuing a goal. And then when I saw that guy as the physical therapist, I'm like, that's what I want to do. I want to be a physical therapist. That's the path I'm going to take. And I just, when you find a button that you can press that you know is going to make you feel good, you keep pressing that button. It's an addictive behavior. And I'm lucky that it wasn't a hard drug that I found that made me feel good for the first time. So I just kept hitting that button and pursuing fitness in every way. And my grades sucked. So I didn't get accepted to any school that wanted me for track and field. By the time I was a senior, I was good enough at it that, some schools were asking, but I had like a 2.7 GPA and I never applied to colleges. I just thought like, whatever, I'm going to go to Brookdale and I'm going to be a math teacher because that's what my parents are telling me to do. And the path was already set. And once high school ended, there was no track team. So I just started pulling on every thread I could. I got into my first Tough Mudder. I had a lot of success there. I met my current business partner, Ben, the October after I graduated high school. I got really into fitness. And then right here in this town in Atlantic Highlands, I found a fitness challenge on First Ave. And I went and I did it and I broke the record on the fitness challenge. And a week later, they were like, hey, you ever think about working in the fitness industry? I was like, all the time. I was 19. And on January 1st, when I was 19 years old, I became a personal trainer. Oh. And then I had a rough conversation with my brother. He's a house painter, Varno Painting. And I was painting houses with him at the time since I was 14. I said to him, like, dude, I hate to break it to you, I'm done painting houses. Yeah. This is what I'm doing forever. And I pursued personal training for a year. I built up a clientele. I built a solid reputation in this town. I was studying anatomy and physiology at school so I could end up being a physical therapist. And after a year of doing it, I was like, wait a second, I'm making more money at 19 doing what I'm doing, personal training. And I'm working with people who want to work with me, not just injured people who have to.
Right.
And I just chased it and followed it, and it brought me in all sorts of directions. I ended up building Isabella Fitness with my business partner, Ben, in Sayreville. We got that gym to run really, really well, and I wanted to go deeper beyond just physical movement, and I went into behavior change coaching to help people actually change what matters up here. You can only make so much difference in somebody's life when you see them for an hour a day in a controlled environment. It's the shit they're doing the other 23 hours that's messing them up, and it's what's going on in here that drives that. So about 4 years ago, I studied to be a behavior change coach, and now I sneak a lot of those elements into what we do here in this community. And
I mean, they all tie it together. They have to.
Yeah,
have to.
So, I mean, I don't know if that was a long story short or a long story long, but that's the gist of it.
I think I want to tie into something which I find interesting about a lot of people's stories is, for me, when I pursued film, when I dropped out of college, I obviously had a tough conversation with my mom in particular. Like, she wanted me to go to college, and she had like a plan essentially set for me that I went the whole other direction. And apparently your stage was kind of set by your parent. Like, they had a vision for you.
Yeah.
When you didn't pursue that, what was that sort of conversation like? And what was that sort of mental kind of thought process like? Okay, I'm going to go against what is set for me, but I know that what I'm going to pursue is the right thing for me. You have to have a sort of confidence in yourself to do that.
Yeah. So to this day, my mom still looks at me and is like, hey, you got to go back to Brookdale and finish your degree. She's still convinced that I need it. Yeah. And the humor of it is, once I started paying for my schooling, I dropped out of Brookdale, it would only be associate's degree. I had needed 3 more credits and I had a 4.0 GPA. Once I started paying for my own education, I studied and applied to it. So now every time the idea comes up, my mom reminds me, she's like, Kevin, won't you just go back and get your degree? And I'm laughing at her. I'm like, for what? Like, what am I going to use it for that I'm not doing now? At the time, however, it was very easy for me. I didn't think about the future. I was just one day at a time. Yeah. Today, there's people in front of me that need help. I happen to have a skill set that can help them. They seem to love it. They appreciate what they're getting in return for their money. So apparently I'm providing more value than what I'm charging, and it fulfills me and it fulfills them. And what else is there to think about? Like, this is working. And I just continue to follow that thread. My parents didn't make it challenging for me. They didn't have these big dreams where there was a lot of pressure of you have to be a doctor or a lawyer. They wanted me to have an easier life than they had. Yeah. They wanted me to become a teacher so that I could be out of work at 3:00 for a family, and then I could have summers off. To them, it was like pension, benefits, summers off. This is the life you want that we didn't create for ourselves. Go get it, Kevin. We want your life to be more comfortable than ours.
Yeah, safe.
Safe, exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't believe in safe. I think everything is an illusion. Safety is an illusion. So it was very easy for me to do this, not because of courage and not because of overcoming expectation from my parents. I have a very accepting family. They all supported the hell out of everything I've done. They support all of it. So they've made it very easy. But honestly, I never even thought about it as I'm not following my parents' wishes. I never thought about it as anything other than I only do things that I like to do.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the person, I don't know if I believe in discipline. Like I'm not sitting here doing things that I don't want to do because I think it will bring a good outcome. No, I'm sitting here studying what's the outcome I want. Now, how do I get there in a way that I'll actually be willing to do it? Because I'm a bad student. I will not do something just because I'm told to do it. I'm just going to do what makes sense to me. And that's why I struggled with school too. Like go study this thing. I'm not interested in it, but I'll study the hell out of the metabolism. Like I'll know the metabolism better than anything, but I'm not going to read Catcher in the Rye and write you a story about it. So
can you dive a little bit deeper into your thought of not believing necessarily in discipline? I'm curious about that because I think obviously I think discipline is really important, and there's a conversation between discipline versus motivation and like how that plays into maybe like fitness, for example, or just doing things where obviously motivation isn't going to be there all the time. When you rely on motivation, you're going to fail most of the time. But if you rely on discipline, you're able to overcome certain things, especially when you don't want to do it. So what is your thought about like, what do you mean by not necessarily believing in discipline? Explain that a little bit deeper.
I think we need to establish a nuanced definition of discipline.
Sure.
For me, when I hear discipline, I hear do something you don't want to do to get something you want. And I just see too many people, maybe it's not, I just see too many people. I just believe if you want something, then doing the things to get it is so fulfilling that are we really doing what we don't want to do? Like, yeah, I want to break an hour in high rocks. So I'm going to run 3 times a week and I'm going to do the dirty work, the not so sexy work to make sure that my Achilles doesn't get strained and to make sure that my knees stay healthy. Because I care about the outcome, I also care about the process.
Yeah.
So it becomes easy for me. Now I've tried hundreds of things that have fallen flat on their face because I'm not disciplined enough. If I don't care about it, I just don't do it. But when the magic happens where I do care about the outcome enough, it just so happens that I care about the process. I don't see people lasting long-term force feeding themselves a process that's miserable.
Right.
So does discipline work on a short-term period? Yeah, I'm sure somebody can force feed themselves broccoli and chicken breast for a few weeks and track it in a MyFitnessPal because that's discipline and I'm going to force it. Okay, well, you show me that in a small enough window of time and it looks like discipline works. Extrapolate it out. Where are they in 6 months? Where are they in a year?
Right.
So in that instance, I don't believe discipline should be the main focus.
Right.
If it is, we're sacrificing present joy for future gratification. But if you're anything like me, it's like once you get there, you just want to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a losing battle. So I don't know if I'm rambling or clarifying that. I just don't think anybody holds on to an outcome that they hated how they got there. And 90-something% of the times they never get there. I think it's a survivor bias. You show me somebody who's all about discipline and they're like, look, I force fed myself this stuff to get to this outcome. And it's like, wow, you succeeded. You did it. It must be true that it works. Then show me the other 99 people who try to do the exact same thing, but they didn't get the outcome.
Right.
Just because it worked for you, you're the survivor. You know, you might be the 1% that discipline works for on the long term because you're willing to be like David Goggins and make yourself miserable every day to get that outcome. But you put 100 people with that same approach where discipline is the main factor. Guess who's the YouTube video that you watch? Right. The guy who succeeds. The other 99 people who fell off, that's evidence that discipline doesn't work. They don't have a YouTube channel with a bunch of followers because they didn't get there. So I think there's a big survivor bias when it comes to that. And I think for the type of people that I want to help, you got to find a way to connect the process to the outcome and find the way to navigate that's true to you that you enjoy. Because if I start saying David Goggins quotes while I'm on a run, I'm going to quit because I'm not effing David Goggins. You know, I got to find a way that Kevin Varno likes the input, which doesn't look anything like anybody else I know. And that's where when everybody comes to me, they're like, well, Kev, what do you have for breakfast? Like, you're asking the wrong question. Because what I have for breakfast isn't going to be the thing that you wake up and look forward to eating for breakfast every day that brings you to the outcome you want. Whatever worked for me because I found a way to enjoy these inputs that also give me the output I want.
Right.
I can help you find yours. And that's where the behavior change coaching comes in, right? Like I can help you find your inputs, but I don't believe that it's just discipline yourself to do what I do and then you'll have what I have.
Definitely.
No, you'll be miserable. You'll be an imposter.
As an owner of a gym and a coach, you see people walk in maybe for the first time, they're intimidated to go to the gym. Maybe they don't even know they have necessarily a passion for the gym yet, or a joy of doing these sort of hard things, which help kind of, like you said, mask that discipline. You don't really need that discipline because you're so joyful about what you're doing. It happens already. But when someone comes in for the first time, how do you kind of help get them to the place where they don't necessarily need that discipline, or do they need the discipline in the beginning to keep them coming back day after day, day after day?
In my experience, people like doing the things that they're good at.
Yeah.
So my job is
to help them find it,
to see the potential in somebody and set them up for a win. You know, like people walk in, they're concerned. I tore my ACL and I've never been the same. I don't do squats. I'm afraid of it. I believe I've seen that enough times to know how to take this person from disbelief and show them a version of a squat that they feel like a winner. And all of a sudden, positive reinforcement. Oh my God, I won.
Right.
Holy shit.
Small wins.
Small wins. Yeah. And it's different for everybody. And what's meaningful for the person is what you need to find. You know, and it needs to be a true win. It can't be fake make-believe bullshit, because you got to consider the average person goes to work, gets underappreciated by their boss, gets shit on by the customers of whatever that service is. Then they go home to their family. And, you know, kids tend to be a handful and maybe ungrateful and are asking more and more of you. And maybe your spouse doesn't know how hard you've been working and how little time you've had for yourself. And this person now comes to the gym. You know what they don't need? They don't need a drill sergeant telling them that they suck and they need to bust their ass more, because what they're not getting anywhere else in their life, at least not frequently enough, is, I'm proud of you. Way to go. Here's a high five.
It's care.
But it can't be fake either. Like I can't see somebody walk in here and not do something valuable for themselves and then fake a high five because they'll know. So my job,
there is a balance of being strict a little bit and putting people, holding people accountable, but also making sure that you are being a caring person that recognizes their small wins. So that balance is really important.
Bingo. I tell all my coaches, I'm like, you need to be judgmental as hell, which sounds like the opposite of what you would want a coach in a fitness industry. But when you see a person walk in, you need to start judging their body language. You need to start judging the way their feet are. You need to judge their hips. You need to know before this person goes for a squat, what that squat's going to look like. And you need to make sure that they don't attempt something that's going to lead to a failure. If the very first thing they try and do in front of you is a failure, well, now they've just connected their first interaction with the gym with failure. Oh my God, I'm not fit enough for this. I'm not good enough. My injuries are going to hold me back. I knew I shouldn't have walked in here. But if I can judge a person by the way they walk, by the way they talk, by the way they carry themselves, and I can get to know them enough before I ask them to do their first movement, I can predict exactly what they might be capable of, what their potential could be. And I can create an environment where they can achieve that potential safely, and it's beyond their expectation, and I can give them a genuine high five. So my job as a professional is to judge the person in front of me and know exactly what would be too much that would hurt them, not only physically, but mentally, and what would be just beyond what they think they're capable of. And then all of a sudden, their first interaction with the gym is, holy shit, this person gave me a warm hug when I walked in, welcomed me as I was, and somehow saw something in me that I couldn't see in myself. And then through the magic of controlling the environment, created an opportunity for me to do something I didn't think I could.
Right.
I can't wait till I come back again.
Yeah.
How many places do people go in their life that they get to have that experience? If we can predictably repeat that pattern, people don't need discipline. They come to the place that they get to win every day. And that's what we try and create here. And, you know, it's not easy. It's why most people don't do it. But what more could you want? You're now surrounding yourself with winners who are excited and have gratitude for what they're doing. You know, nobody here, my hope is that nobody here, and hope the majority of people here are the opposite, but we're not beating ourselves up because we hate who we are. We're here building the best version of ourselves with gratitude that we can do what we're doing. And the only way you can have gratitude for doing what you can do is making sure the prescription and the dosage is just right, that you can win every time. But we're dealing with adults. Adults know if we're throwing them lollipops and making it easy.
For sure.
challenge them to the limits of what they can do and make sure they still win. And now you've got a person who is going to transform in every aspect of their life, because now they're like, I'm the motherfucker who does what they say they're going to do and wins. You start racking up points on that scoreboard, that human being changes in every aspect.
Yeah. How do you find the balance of doing a workout with somebody and they want to push past the point where maybe they and maybe you feel comfortable of doing it and they might fail at doing the thing? How does that, how do you find the encouragement to make them feel as though they're not a failure, but what they did was still unbelievable? They still did a thing, and it might not have happened today, but it might happen tomorrow.
A few things. One, it starts at the very first interaction with Varno Fitness. If somebody reaches out and inquires about the gym, they have to follow my lead. Hey, we do a fitness assessment first. At the end of that fitness assessment, I'll give you my professional opinion on what you're ready for. At the end of that fitness assessment, I bring everybody through 5 personal training sessions. I get 5 hours to work with this individual. I start understanding what's going on in their head, what their body's capable of. And the individuals who don't respect moving with purpose, what we have written on this wall right here, they don't continue. So they would be the type of individual who pushes beyond what they're capable of, falls on their face, and then beats themselves up over it. They don't succeed here because right out the gate, the first interaction they have with us is, hey, we are only going to do things that are in your best interest, and we're only going to do them to the capacity that you have. And we're always going to be 10% outside your comfort zone. So we work hard, but you're always going to be at a realm where you stay healthy and safe and you win. So if I can continue to do that and not let any poison into the community, then we only have people here who won't be doing something reckless and then feeling like a failure because they can't attain it. That's number one. Make sure the right people are in the room. You know, like our members move well because I pick the right clients, you know. Secondly, when writing workouts, there should be a purpose behind every workout. And the coach should know that purpose. And the coach should be able to predict what is written between the lines. So when people ask me for programming, it's like, no, you need to experience it through the guides of our coaches. We're like Sherpas bringing you to Mount Everest. Because I can write a workout plan for you, so can ChatGPT. But if you can't see what's written between the lines, you're not going to get anywhere. So in a class setting, the coach's job is to say, hey, by the way, the reason for this workout is this. What it's going to feel like is this. What might happen is this. Follow me up Mount Everest, and I will guide you around the pitfalls and the treacherous terrain so that you don't fall and fail. But by the way, today is a total setup. You might fall and fail at this point, and if that does happen, it's my fault because of how I wrote the workout. It's not yours. Now let's go at it, right? So if we can get ahead of that, if the athlete knows what is to come and now can absolve themselves from, I'm good because I did it, I'm bad because I failed, and they can just understand today is part of an everyday training and a practice. We're going to practice this thing today. And because I'm kind of an evil jerk sometimes, I'm setting you up today to test something and you might fall on your face. You're falling on your face with us, because that's what's supposed to happen. And if you don't fall on your face, now let's get the, bust out the celebration and the parade. Holy cow, I set you up to fall on your face and you didn't. Huge win. So we can neutralize the loss by saying, it's my fault. I'm setting you up for this type of a challenge today. It's not personal if you don't finish or can't do this. It's all on me. I've set you up on purpose. Now we've neutralized the pain of not succeeding, but we've amplified the feeling if they do overcome it. And if I can keep finding that sweet spot in the way I write the workout and prescribe the modifications and the weights to the athletes and explain it and prepare them, you can bat 900, 9 out of 10 times they walk out here with a big win. And that's a pretty damn good average to keep people coming back.
It sounds, the way that you were describing the way that you want to run your gym and the community, it sounds like you have been through years and years of trial and error. What were some of the things in the beginning of your sort of personal training journey that you struggled with when working with clients? What were things that maybe you didn't realize working with clients that now you realize are very important attributes to have as a trainer and also as an owner of a gym that's building a community?
Yeah. So when I discovered CrossFit, it was a game changer. CrossFit was amazing. It gamified fitness. It gave you the sport of fitness. It gave you measurable outcomes. And I became the guy that people would drive to rack up points on that scoreboard. I'm going to go to Kevin. He's going to teach me how to get my first muscle up. I'm going to go to Kevin. He's going to teach me how to snatch 10 more pounds than I've ever snatched before.
I love the idea of gamifying it.
Yeah. And it's this amazing fuel that gets people engaged. And I'm so grateful for it. But it fueled my ego more than it made the world a better place, because I got to be the guy who got the credit for your breakthroughs.
Right.
Um,
That's interesting.
so the mistakes that I made early was, and it didn't seem like mistakes at the time, because at the time it was just filled with validation. I knew how to get somebody to lift 10 more pounds within an hour with me, and they would have this amazing victory in their mind. And I would get the validation, and then they would refer their friends to me. And it all was this awesome trade-off.
Ego loop?
Yes. Bingo. It fueled me, it fueled them, and everything was great. And, you know, there's really nothing terribly wrong with that. But what really matters is on a bigger timeline. That's what could happen in 1 hour. What happens in 1 year? What happens in 5 years? What happens in a decade? So when people would come to me for these insane high level things that built egos, like let's get a muscle up or let's add 10 pounds to the snatch, early on, because my ego was hungry, I would give them what they asked for, which is their perceived value. But what was missing was, is your shoulder actually really, really healthy? And can it bear doing a muscle up? In my environment, maybe it can, but when you go off on your own and start practicing this new skill I just gave you, can you wield it responsibly? And that's what I do now. It's a harder sell because people perceive value in...
Not as sexy.
It's not as sexy, exactly. Yeah. People perceive value in these big Mount Everest accomplishments.
Right.
Hitting a 1 rep max deadlift, hitting
these sort of visual goals.
But that's a win inside the gym. Are you going home and icing your shoulder instead of playing with your kid? So what's not so sexy, what's a harder sell is, where are we going to be in 10 years from now? You know, I have this belief, you can build a business and sell it and make enough money that you can retire financially for the rest of your life. That's true. That's true in finances. It's not true in fitness. There's no level of fitness that you can acquire that you can now put your feet up and be like, yeah, I don't need to work on this practice anymore. You, me, and everybody else need to work on the practice of fitness for the rest of our lives. That's a long timeline, like a long, long timeline. So noticing the nuances in how somebody uses their big toe and their ankle and their knee and their lower back, sometimes you got to put the cool ego boosting Mount Everest, like I'm lifting all this weight and I'm doing all this amazing, crazy shit. Sometimes you got to put that on the back burner and be like, hey, before we put the car on the racetrack, let's get the alignment on. And the real challenge that is my entire purpose with Varno Fitness now is getting people to feel the gratitude of big Mount Everest accomplishments from the practice of moving with purpose. Can you come in the gym, not light the world on fire, move with purpose, and walk out of here feeling like you just ran a marathon and climbed Mount Everest and won a championship fight? Yeah. If we can connect those things, now this is sustainable until the day you're in your grave.
Was there something that, or was there somebody that helped you maybe realize that your mentality at a certain point wasn't necessarily the way that you want to be thinking? Like now, was it something that happened to you that you had to switch your mentality? What happened for you to switch from that ego-driven mentality to where you are now?
My own mental health roller coaster. You know, I found fitness and I kept pushing that button to make myself feel better. And I tried to go to the CrossFit Games. And in trying to do so, I was neglecting aches and pains in my body. But I was getting so much validation from the outside world
in your life that you needed to fill, but you were just kind of masking it with some other sort of validation.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that at the time, right? You know, at the time,
you don't see it at the time, yeah.
Yeah, it was, if I can do 20 muscle ups unbroken, I'm going to get love and affection from the community, and they're going to act like I'm the man, and that feels good. And if I can snatch 250 pounds, I can walk into any, you know, fitness arena and just know, like,
own the place.
I'm the big dog. Yeah. Like, that feels good. And then it started hurting my body. You know, not that there's anything wrong with progressing in fitness. I was just prioritizing the ego aspect of things more than feeling good. Yeah. And the cost that was adding up for me to stay that top dog and be that guy, debilitating knee pain, constant bicep tendonitis in the shoulders. These things just started popping up, and I didn't want to give up the ego and the identity of being the guy. So I would work through them. So on one hand, it was, when you don't know how to truly take care of yourself, you will run it until you run into a brick wall and it stops you. So it wasn't,
especially if ego is the one that's driving it.
bingo.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason I was doing it, So it wasn't by design. I wasn't some wise, brilliant dude who redirected out of, I don't know, knowledge and foresight. It was, I ran into a brick wall and then I ate shit. And then I did that again. And I did it for years. And
When
then
you say you ate shit and did it for years, when you hit that first brick wall, it's not like it was an immediate change. Did you go back to that same mentality and you had to do it over and over until the point where you're like, this is not happening. This is not working.
Yeah. And the terrible thing about it is the gaps that I would have in between actually pursuing fitness and taking care of myself kept getting larger and larger because the fear of coming back as a shell of myself was so intimidating that I didn't want to get started again. You go until your knee hurts and you're like, whatever, just put a knee sleeve on. Then you put BioFreeze on. Then you start taking Advil and you just keep pushing through it and pushing through it and pushing through it until you're out of magic tricks and there's no other way to push through it. Well, then you sit on your ass for a month till your knee stops hurting. Right. And how do you feel when you sit on your ass for a month? You're like, oh no, the first day that I go back is going to be so humbling because I'm not going to be the big dog anymore. I'm not going to be able to do the stuff. Man, my ego is not ready for that. Let me wait till tomorrow. Let me wait till next week. So over time, the more I ran into these walls, the more time I would have to take away from working out because I was afraid to underperform to this unachievable, nonsensical standard that only I was creating. So when I realized that approach wasn't working for me anymore, I changed the approach with my athletes. And that's hard to do. When somebody sees the CrossFit Games online and comes into your gym and is like, you guys are a CrossFit, right? Like, show me how to 1 rep max. Well, let me teach you how to stand and squat first. No, let me get weight on the bar. Right. It's like, man, my job became, people knew me as the guy who went for big things. And then my job became telling other people, maybe we should take it slow.
Did you feel at the beginning that maybe I should go back to the one thing? Did you not necessarily feel confident in your new decision at the time? Like, what made you start believing that this was the right path for you? Especially with working with those clients that weren't into it at the beginning.
Well, it comes back to me. I don't have the ability to do something I don't want to do. So I knew from a business perspective, I could keep selling these breakthroughs. I could be the guy who you show up to and I'd help you hit a PR on this lift and I'd help you get your first muscle up. And that could just print money for me and it would build my ego and I could just do that over and over and over again. But it didn't align anymore.
Right.
Like
you changed.
When the day comes where you unravel the story that you've been telling about what makes you a good human and a valuable asset to the world, when that story unravels and you're like, oh shit, this isn't valuable anymore. I just didn't have the ability to fake it. I couldn't stand in front of people and say like, yeah, this is what's valuable. Let's go for it. So slowly it became very apparent when my beliefs didn't align with a lot of the people who were coming to see me for what they wanted to accomplish. And that's when I really dove into behavior change because I realized like, okay, I think I've reached the pinnacle of what I can do helping people move with purpose, but they're not changing as much as I would like them to. I had like a 20% success rate of people actually transforming who they were and changing their life for the long term. Yeah. Now, 100% of my clients were really happy with me. They would come in, they would exchange money for time and I would provide them a service and they'd be pumped with it. So I had 100% success with happy customers, but I had about a 20% success rate when I really zoomed out and looked at who's changing for the long term. So I went cold turkey. I stopped working with people in person overnight, done. And then I only worked with people online, walked away from the gym business entirely. That came with its own problems. What I started to realize was I can make a much deeper change with somebody when I sit with them in an environment like this and I ask them the right questions and I make them face the shit in their life that's really painful and they actually have to start changing the real shit. But then I wasn't getting my validation. At the end of those hour-long calls, all we did was talk about the rough stuff. And then I would leave the call heavy. Yeah. And I didn't get my high five of like, you helped me get a muscle up today. You're the best coach. You're awesome. I didn't get 20 doses of that anymore. It's like, oh no, now I know how to help people more. but I'm not getting my needs met.
How did you find, because eventually I'm sure you found some sort of way to get a sense of fulfillment and
Mm.
validation out of it. What was that for you when you first felt that in this new sort of mentality?
So I'm naturally very hospitable.
Mm,
I have great hospitality. Um, I know how to care for someone. And in a physical location, people would walk in the doors and I would take care of them. And for years, I did this with my members at Isabella Fitness, and I would hold their hand and I would set up their equipment and I would answer all their questions and I would see the problem and I would solve it for them. And people loved me for that. But they never learned how to solve their own problems.
mm,
So I made a bunch of people very reliant on me. I got into behavior change coaching because there was turmoil in my life and it was time to just like say, what do I have to lose? Let's take a gamble here. And I invested in a coaching system and I went and got certified. And one of the first lessons I learned was the best service I can provide you is not to solve your problems, but to show you that you're the man or the woman who's capable of solving your own problems. So I learned how to ask questions. And with those questions, you would have to be introspective and answer them. And then you'd have to hear yourself answer them. And then I would make you repeat it and hear it and hear it and hear it. And I would just be there like bumpers on a bowling alley, keeping you out of the gutter while you were leading your own life and solving your own challenges and building yourself up. And the feeling of helping somebody else be their own hero as opposed to being the hero myself, that was a game changer. So that was incredibly rewarding.
yeah.
It was like a new superpower being unlocked.
It's almost, that's a huge revelation. I feel it's like you found, and I feel like you keep going through these different stages of who you are and what you are kind of becoming as a person, as a man, as a trainer. What are you feeling you're at this stage in your life? What is something new that you are kind of working through right now? A new sort of found way of training, maybe a new mentality. What is something at this stage that you're finding?
I mean, there's a lot, man. I'm working on loving myself more,
Mm,
right? Because as soon as you ask that question, I'm like, well, there's 5 areas that I suck at that I'm trying to improve. Um, but really, what I'm working on is loving where I'm at today,
mm,
having gratitude for how far I've come, taking a moment to smell the roses. I moved into an RV a few years ago and just said, screw it, I'm going to drive around the country for a year and see what happens. And I remember one of the things my dad said as I left, he's like, stop to smell the roses. I still haven't figured out how to do that. I'm getting a lot better at it, but that's what I'm trying to figure out today. And I'm proud of myself. I've been doing a really good job of receiving love
mm.
and appreciating and enjoying moments and being proud of myself and seeing success. It's not my default setting.
Being proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not my default setting.
You feel like you're always very critical of yourself and you don't really give yourself obviously not, I'm not trying to say the credit, but being proud of yourself sometimes is hard to do, especially if you're very driven.
Yeah. And, I'm happy that I've accomplished as much as I have because the fuel I had was, what have you done lately?
Mm,
When I would succeed in an accomplishment, I took pride in the fact that I would say, that's how it's supposed to go.
mm,
It was either negative reinforcement for coming up short, or I thought it was just this badass mentality of saying, like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to go.
mm,
I would see other people celebrate and I would judge them. Like, what are you celebrating?
mm,
You're a small fish in a big pond. But I was the one really suffering. That wasn't, they're over there having fun along the process of becoming better and really enjoying the journey. And I'm over here acting better than them.
right. I think we sometimes forget to have fun. I think
Yeah,
that's huge.
bingo. So that's the project right now, man.
Yeah.
It is
Love that.
enjoying today, appreciating today, being proud of myself, loving myself, having gratitude for it, forgiving myself.
Mm.
And who knew that that was the tough part? I always thought the tough part was gritting your teeth and getting the shit done. But for me, that's my default. That's my default setting. I will.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can work like a workhorse. The tough part is enjoying when I'm not.
Mm.
That's tricky.
Mm. When we did our workout earlier and we did the 400 meter, you said something that caught my attention, and you said we're going to the crosswalk, but the end of the crosswalk.
Mhm.
I thought that little moment spoke a lot about your character, because the crosswalk is maybe 5 feet in width.
Mhm.
You could have very easily just said the crosswalk and we could have went to the beginning of it and turned around, but you specifically said the end of the crosswalk. That's a very specific detail that signifies that this is exactly 400 meters. You did not skimp 1 meter. You did not skimp a foot, nothing. This is exactly where we're turning around. How important is detail in that regard when you are training, but also when you're leading a community, doing that specific run or doing that type of that thing where you have to stop at that point because that's exactly what you said you're going to do? What is the value of that for you?
I mean, that's everything.
Mm.
I think self-esteem is being the guy who does what he says he's going to do.
Mm.
You know, if anybody out there isn't proud of themselves or happy with themselves or anything, it's like, well, step one is do what you say you're going to do. Even if that means just say you're going to brush your teeth and then go brush your teeth. It doesn't need to be this big thing. But for every time that you cut a corner and you don't do what you say you're going to do, your subconscious is keeping track. There is a scoreboard in there.
Yeah.
The home team gets a point every time you do something you say you're going to do, and the away team gets a point every time you don't do something you say you're going to do. And that is calculated in the back of your mind, whether you like it or not. And that's what your self-worth is built on.
Mm.
So as an individual, that's what helps me sleep at night.
Yeah.
Like, cross that line.
Mm.
Think about it, man. Like, the value of being able to sleep at night knowing that you did it is so profound. And the value that you would get for cutting that corner is so minuscule.
For sure.
It's like the trade you're making
Yes.
is a mind-blowing
Mhm.
value equation that, of course, you do what you say you're going to do. Leading by example like that is amazing, but also having grace and understanding that other people have more important shit in their life.
Mm.
You know, I'm not the drill sergeant that's getting in somebody's face because they're not breaking parallel on a squat. And that's where it's my philosophy that I hold myself to that standard. People have bigger fish to fry than crossing the crosswalk when they're running their 400.
Yeah.
So I'm not the guy who's going to be out there and say, no rep, you're
Right.
good for nothing. You did that. It's like, yeah, was there
But
running?
if you lead by example, people will follow that.
They will. And
Yeah.
also, if they don't, it's like, cool, there's bigger problems
Sure.
in the world than
For
just
sure.
these details here.
Mhm.
And, you know, as you could say as a leader, but I look at it more as like a friend.
Right.
If I witness somebody cutting a corner, then there's a triage that goes on in my head. Is this going to make them unsafe? Are they going to get hurt? If there is, I need to rule with an iron fist. There needs to be a very clear standard with a warm, welcoming hug of, hey, stop right there. We need to fix this, and here's why. And I need to see in your eye that you understand me and you take ownership of it. Otherwise, our relationship at this gym is unsustainable.
Mm.
If it's not a risk of injury or something unsustainable, and it's simply like, you broke the rules. It's like, I'll talk to the person and be like, hey, how come you're not squatting low? Are you feeling okay today? Yeah, my hips are a little bit tight. Okay, keep doing what you're doing. I'm proud of you. Awesome.
Right.
Or, you know, I didn't even realize. Awesome. Try and squat a little bit lower. No big deal.
Right.
So when it comes to myself, I hold myself to a very black and white standard. It's like, you know, it's like you're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. Nobody's kind of pregnant,
Yeah.
right? So I like to make things very clear because I don't want to fuck with my mindset in a way where there's gray areas. And now there I am rolling in bed at night like, did
What
I
if?
actually do the thing? Did I not do the thing? Did I
Right.
actually do the thing? Did I not do the thing? And that's the standard I set with myself. And when I have my behavior change clients, I make it very clear like, hey, so you're telling me this week, you're going to make sure that you drink a full glass of water first thing in the morning, 7 days a week. Now, what qualifies as a full glass of water? And what qualifies as first thing in the morning? And you can do it 7 days a week or 5 days a week. Because I want to make sure that they're very clear, black and white, that either they did it
Right.
completely or they completely didn't do it, because those are the only two options. When it comes to your mindset, there is no partial credit. It's either you did the thing you said you're going to do or you didn't. And that's the level at which I'll guide my behavior change clients.
Mm.
But I also think you could do a lot of damage in a gym setting like this if you're running around telling people,
Nitpicking.
Nancy, you didn't squat low enough. It doesn't count. Do it again. Your punishment is burpees. It's like, dude, chill. Nancy's got a job where her boss is tough on her. Nancy's got a spouse who hasn't shown her the appreciation she deserves. Nancy's got a couple of kids who are sucking her dry. Give Nancy a break.
Right.
She showed up to do something good for herself. Go give her a high five for being here. Put your arm around her and say, Nancy, can we squat a little bit lower? You know, so there is a nuance there. I'll lead by holding myself to a certain standard out of self-love, not out of self, like hurt myself.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, with my members, hopefully they follow that lead. And if they don't, it's a gentle conversation to understand. I want to understand what's going on, you know.
With your behavioral trained clients and, you know, starting to pursue that side of things, what are some common themes that you notice within people within sort of self-limiting beliefs? What are some things that you are able to help them overcome that initially they feel like they can't overcome themselves?
So my tagline when it comes to, you know, letting people know who I am and what I do is I help men who can't lose weight. That's who I want to help. I want to help the guys out there who believe they can't, who've tried everything. You know, I believe that obesity is an external expression of an internal struggle. And I believe that they keep trying the superficial shit to fix stuff, but they haven't done the real work and been gentle enough with themselves to get there. It's so different with every individual. You know, I think people will look up to people like Jocko Willink and David Goggins and think that this intense leader of craziness who's running a marathon every day is the North Star. Let me follow that. It's like, if you're following that, the one person who succeeds in following that is a superhero. The 999 who fail in following it are just, they don't change. They become who they are with one more piece of evidence that they suck. So the limiting belief, number one, that I help people with is to realize it's easier than you think. It's like you can actually be a lot more gentle on yourself and start to succeed if you know where to set the goalpost. When people set the goalpost too far, they fall on their face.
Right.
You know, if you set the goalpost not that far, knowing that you're going to be doing this forever, like, why are you in such a rush? You're going to be eating well and exercising for the rest of your life. You want to be healthy forever, right? Why are we in a rush to hit a grand slam on day one? Let's just set the goalpost a little bit further, prove to yourself in a week that you can succeed. And then that compounds in every direction. But it all starts with people don't celebrate their wins enough. So the first words spoken on every call that I have with my clients is, what are your wins for the week? What are you proud of? And, you know, the first couple weeks they have trouble with it. They start telling me all the problems and I go, freeze. It's not what I asked. I said, what are you proud of? They're like, I failed at everything you told me. I said, stop. I asked you one question. What are you proud of? What are your wins? And I apply the same thing at the gym here every Friday. I make every member tell me, what is your biggest win for the week? Whether it was outside of the gym or inside of the gym, tell me your biggest win for the week, just to exercise the muscle of, oh, wow, there has been a gain. I was once here and now I'm here. Oh my God, there's a gain. I love this for myself. I'm proud of myself. Most people don't look at this gain. They look at this gap.
Right.
Like, this is where I want to be and this is where I am. Oh my God, this sucks, painful. So if we can get people to start celebrating the gain and build that muscle.
Celebrating the building blocks.
Yeah. I don't think I directly answered your question, but I was excited to share that. So
yeah, no, I love that. I think something else I'm curious about too is, you know, when I am working on, say, a commercial or something, I usually have a team of people that are usually asking me questions I have to answer. And I find that sometimes in certain settings when I feel a little nervous or I'm maybe a little in over my head, I feel a sense of pressure to be able to uphold a certain standard that I set. Do you feel that how do you deal with pressure essentially? Do you feel sometimes that you struggle with upholding a certain standard that you have set for this community, this gym? Or is it something that is just every day of the week you are on because this is just who you are at this point?
That's been a moving target, you know?
Yeah.
I can give you a great answer today because I've been in a good flow and sound like I'm the man, but the reality is it's been ugly, you know, the pressure that I put on myself. Currently, in the place that I think everybody should get in whatever endeavor they're tackling is I'm grateful for what I am capable of and what value I can bring. And on a daily basis, I trust myself to make the next right decision. And with that, something might go amazing. Great. Something might go terrible. Great. Guess what? Like, I'm proud of the value I bring to the table, and I made the next best decision I could, and I can sleep at night with that.
Yeah.
And I'm at a really happy place with that. And there's a lot of fruits that are coming of that. So it's really good. There's other times where there's sleepless nights where, I know as a business owner, in order to scale the business and do greater good, I need to empower my coaches to take more responsibility and free myself up for higher level thinking.
Right.
But am I the best person to go clean the toilets right now? Am I the best person to go coach the class right now? It's really, I've been at points where I would just be a control freak and I would coach every class and clean the floors and clean the toilets and do all these things because, number one, it was an ego-driven thing. I wanted to be the man, Number two, I was unwilling to give space to my team to prove themselves. Right now, the flow I'm in, total opposite. I got just as much faith in my team as I do in myself. And I have more faith in the idea of, somebody asked me a question. Is the best thing I can do for them to answer the question, or is the best thing I could do for them to just mirror it back and let them answer it? Because that's where their growth is.
Right.
So right now I'm in a great place.
Yeah.
There could be pressure on, and it's like, I don't exist in the future and I don't exist in the past. I exist right now, and I'm proud of how I got here. And I'm sure I'll be proud of what decision I make tomorrow, but I'm not going to worry about it because it's today. Do I recommend running a business like that? I don't know, because oftentimes people will remind me of something in 2 weeks and I'm like, oh man, it's not in my mind. So I think I'm in a really good place. And for anybody listening who's got whatever their mission is, whether it's their own health and fitness or their business or their relationship or their life, I think the place that we all want to live is in the present moment, full of gratitude and appreciation and happy with ourselves, and just trusting yourself so much that you're valuable enough that you will make the best next decision and just give up control of the outcome. Some days are going to go great, but that doesn't mean that you're a superhero, because if that's what you're thinking, then you're going to feel like shit when things don't go great. Some days they go great, some days they don't go great. As long as you trust yourself, you believe you're valuable, and you trust that you're going to make the next best right decision, you can be present and be cool and be happy. And the pressure is fun.
Yeah.
When you're living in the future or the past, that'll take years off your life. And I've spent a lot of time there too. So
do you think more about the future or more about the past?
Wow. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
I think for me,
future. Sorry for cutting you off.
No. I'm the same way. I think about the future too much. Yeah.
I only say that because I'm always looking forward. Do I beat myself up about the past a little bit? Maybe. But I definitely don't do enough like celebrating the past. So I would say I'm more so thinking about the future, grinding my way to whatever that next thing is.
Yeah, me too.
Tell me about yours. How do you know that? Like, what is the pattern like for you?
I do more short-term reflecting on the past, even if it's positive or negative, but very rarely do I dwell on the past too long. But I think for the future, for me, I often find myself in certain circumstances where I almost become like paralyzed in the thought of, if I'm not doing this one thing right now, a year from now, I'm going to regret it, or whatever the case may be. I tend to worry about the future a lot rather than sometimes feel excited about the future. But I also notice that when I'm in a state of feeling really grateful and present about where I am right now, if I do have a thought about the future, it is 99% positive.
Yeah.
So a trait and something that I need to continue to work on, because I do realize the value of it, is when I am present and grateful and recognizing the good things in my life, I can't think about the future and it be negative. Regardless of what is going to happen in the future, I can't control any of that right now. All I can control is just being here, what I'm doing. And if I'm happy with what I am currently doing with my life, who I'm being surrounded by, who I'm surrounding myself with, I feel great. I feel excited about the next day. I feel excited about the future. But if I'm not feeling present, or if I'm not being here, I think negatively about the future.
Do you think that your state, the state of being present with gratitude and
Mm.
satisfaction versus the state of being stuck in the future, stressing, do you think that state affects the opportunities that come your way?
Yes, I do. I think I I feel as though when I get stuck in the sense of looking at the future too much, it always limits the amount of action that I do in the present. It keeps me kind of at pause. It keeps me sort of not really doing the things that I should be doing because I'm just stuck in a thought. But if I'm present, I'm more willing to do actionable things that inherently will help me receive better opportunity, but also just put me in a better position to essentially receive anything that I get towards my life, positive or negative. Even if it's negative, I'm able to internalize it a lot better and able to recognize it as maybe something that I can improve on or a learning lesson or a problem that needs to be solved.
Hell yeah. I agree. I think to bring it like to the gym industry, I think most gym owners think their biggest problem is that they don't have enough leads.
Mm,
Like if I just had more leads, I'd have a successful gym. Whenever I'm thinking in like a masculine energy like that with the the spreadsheet side of the business,
yeah.
it'll keep me up all night.
Mm,
I'm like, how the hell am I going to logistically get to the point where there's enough members paying enough money and receiving a high enough quality service to pay my coaches enough money for their level of professionalism? It's like, how can I logistically look at these numbers and figure out how to scale this business to that point? Playing with those numbers will make me roll around in bed all night, but none of that has any heart in it.
right.
In the meantime, when I'm just here making the next best right decision, trusting myself, knowing that the care I put into each individual is going to have a ripple effect into the community, that's when my phone rings.
Yeah.
My phone doesn't ring when I draw up, oh, all I need to do is make this many Instagram posts and do this many things, and then I'm going to get this many outcomes. And that's what so many like entrepreneurial coaches coach, because you can print on a spreadsheet a bunch of numbers, make this many calls, this many emails, and then sell that as if it's a path to
Of
success.
course.
But I think the only path to success is authenticity.
Mm,
It's like, hey, be present, make the next best right decision, over deliver, and then let the word of mouth be the thing that brings you to success. My belief in the fitness industry is nobody would ever need more leads if they just served the one person in front of them good enough.
mhm.
I choose where I eat at restaurants based on a raving review from a friend of mine. I don't go on their website. I don't go on their Instagram. I don't see how good's their promotional stuff. I just trust Brian. Brian's like, dude, I had the best steak at this place. I'm like, done. I'm in. All that restaurant needed to do was make the best steak every time so that when Brian took a bite of it, he told Kevin about it.
Right.
And I think that's
Yeah.
the same for,
Mm.
is that scalable to big business? I mean, probably not. You probably need the numbers for big business too. But for small business, it's like when I'm focused on that, just the in and outs of delivering the service and dealing with the people right in front of me in the best way I can,
Mhm.
the phone rings. When I'm focused on the super masculine energy of the numbers of it, I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm not sleeping, and I just get stuck in a standstill.
What does success look like to you right now? And what did it look like to you maybe a few years ago? And how has that changed over the years?
A few years ago, success was measured on a spreadsheet.
Mm,
It's like, how much money can I make? Like I loved sitting on a spreadsheet and seeing like, where can I, now obviously I was delivering a service with integrity. It wasn't simply just a money grab. It so happened that at Isabella Fitness, we were really killing it because on a daily basis, I was nurturing the community, and the effect of it was like, holy shit, I forgot I was getting paid for this. And look at this. Oh my God, how can I continue to optimize this? So I used to be stuck in the success game of metrics, money. I would follow Alex Hormozy quite a bit, and I would try and mimic what he would say, value proposition,
mm.
all these things.
Buzzwords.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I found the information that he was giving to be extremely valuable. However, in August of 2 years ago, it hit me one day. I'm like, oh shit. Alex Hormozy is sharing his blueprint, not for me to go and try and be Alex Hormozy. He's just showing me what it looks like to be himself.
Mm.
And I was judging myself trying to play his game. Every day I was trying to calculate all the tactics that he was sharing and trying to utilize that to become like him. And I just felt like such a loser. There was no success because I was playing somebody else's game.
Mm.
The day I had that realization, I stopped working for 6 months. I took 6 months off of work. And my entire mission was, outside of the validation that I got from being a coach, outside of the money I would make from doing it, what would make me happy? And I think success is enjoying the present moment on a far more drastic level than the moments you don't, right? Like, I think it's unavoidable that there's going to be moments where you're not like pumped about what's going down, but I can't quantify it. It's just a feel of, can I feel like I'm meditating no matter what it is that I'm doing? Can I just feel present, connected with my breath, and content? If I'm making dinner, can I love that I'm making dinner? If I'm playing volleyball, can I love that I'm playing volleyball? If I'm sitting and having a conversation with my parents, can I love that I'm doing that? I think that's what success is. Can I just be where I am and love that that's the best place in the world to be, no matter what it is? And that's, breaking away from what I used to be stuck in, which was, as long as I'm succeeding in fitness and business at that moment, I can feel okay. And everything that wasn't one of those two things was suffering. So I think that's my definition of success, that if I take a moment to celebrate, I'm doing pretty damn good on right now.
Say so too. Amazing.
But it's also a practice.
Yes.
I'm also getting better at it. I'm also a rookie. I have training wheels on. So I can simultaneously sit here and be like, yeah, I'm doing it and it's fucking awesome. But yeah, I'm also just a student of it, practicing it to get better at it, because my default is the opposite. And every now and then I'll wake up in my default and I have to remind myself, it's not my fault. It's my default. It's okay. I'm going to come back.
Yeah.
You know?
Amazing. Kevin, thank you so much.
My pleasure, dude. Thank you.
What do you want someone to know about Varno Fitness that maybe isn't aware of this gym yet?
Come as you are. I think most people stay out of the gym because they're afraid their injuries are going to hold them back. They're afraid they're not going to fit in. They're afraid they're not fit enough for this. I want you to come authentically as you are, however rough you might feel like that is. And our job is to make group fitness personal to who you are and welcome you into the community of people who are all doing the exact same thing, just trying to get better. So
amazing. Where can people learn more about Varno Fitness?
Our Instagram is the best place.
Perfect. What is it?
Varno_fitness_.
Cool. I'll tag it in the description. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. This is great.
Yeah. All right. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode, everyone. Have a great day. Peace out.